Well, I've been on a bad spending spree. I can't not make this video now after dumping money on Dreamworks games for the DS. I thought it would be interesting considering I'm a fan of reviewers such as JonTron and Kid Icarus, and I was disappointed when Kid Icarus didn't really look at any handheld games in his Dreamworks videos. You should go check it out if you're interested. And I wanted to take a little more serious, a little less comedic look at these games and find out if any of them are any good. Also, there are some 3DS games here today. Since I'm playing these on a 3DS anyways, I'll go ahead and group those few games in here. there's a lot of these. So without any further ado, we got a lot of games here. I think it's like over 20. Someone please help me. I'm going Well, we have tons of kart racers here today, so why not start with a racer that has all the best Dreamworks characters, like Bob and Marvin. There's actually a good amount of characters here. It's just too bad that it doesn't really matter. Don't the stats deceive you, these characters all play mostly the same. Superstar Karts on the DS is a bad kart racer. I've definitely played a lot worse. The problem is content, and Superstar Karts does not have content. Sure, there are a few tracks, good amount of characters, even a challenge mode, but these are all illusions. And the weird thing is, I like the core gameplay of the game. Superstar Karts is a mix of Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart, and it actually works, mostly. You see, drifting fills up your boost meter, and you can use this to get an edge on the other racers. It's not a temporary boost. You can save it to use it at the last moment, which is a mechanic that I don't see a lot in kart racers. I'm not saying it's ever been done before, I'm just saying I don't see it a lot. The only problem is it's way too overpowered. I win most of these races by like half a lap. The thing that makes Crash Team Racing work is that it's just a small boost that you can rack up multiple times. Plus, the AI is doing it too, so you'll lose if you don't do it. I don't see the AI boosting with me, I don't even see him drifting. Plus, the tracks are very few in number. There's 2 How to Train Your Dragon tracks, 2 Shrek tracks, 4 Madagascar tracks, and 1 Monster vs. Aliens track, and that's it. There's reverse versions of the tracks that pad out the rest of the 4 cups, which once again are mostly Madagascar tracks. And the design of the tracks themselves aren't terrible, but they definitely aren't very good either. They're just okay tracks. The first cup win has a good mix of tracks, with 1 track from each Dreamworks rep. Then Cloud just gives a big middle finger to that and has half of the tracks be Madagascar tracks. Same with the Sun and Moon cups. Okay, maybe it's just the tracks. We must have a lot of different characters to work with, don't we? Let's take a look. We have Hiccup, Shrek, and Alex unlocked right out the gate. You can then unlock the rest of the characters in any order you want. We have Donkey, Marty, Gloria, Toothless, Bob, Fiona, and King Julian, also Melman. I hope you see the problem by now. Madagascar favoritism. I don't get it because there's already a kart racer that is Madagascar themed, and it seems like this game just straight up leans on Madagascar instead of the huge library of Dreamworks universes. Like, why do we need Phil and Mesa? I don't even know who they are. Why not replace them with, like, I don't know, one of the tons of other Dreamworks characters? No Over the Hedge? No Megamind? And yes, this came out after Megamind. He easily could have been in here, and yet nope, we need the monkeys from Madagascar. Like, what is even the point of putting Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon characters in here? Just make Madagascar Karts 2 at this point. The main thing here, well, the thing is, I don't know why this needs to exist. There's literally no reason this should exist. I don't like saying that often, but the game isn't good enough to justifiably exist when there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other bad kart racers across not only the DS, not only the 3DS, not only handhelds in general, not only consoles, not only PC, but across all of gaming. If you want a good kart racer with drifting-based gameplay, play Crash Team Racing. If you want another bad kart racer with drifting-based gameplay, play Crash Nitro Kart. Okay, I can't look at Bob's ugly face anymore. Okay, so I'll start the Shrek games with Super Slam, the first Shrek game to release on the DS. I've never been more confused at an opening of a game in my life. Like, what's going on? Why is Prince Charming here? This came out in 2005, before Shrek the Third. So why is he here? Okay, so it's telling a story about a witch. Oh god, what happened to you two? Oh god. Other than that, amazing cutscene, what does Shrek Super Slam have to offer us? I've heard that the console version is like Smash Bros, but with Shrek characters, so I'm interested in seeing what the DS version has to offer. Ah, this is not what I expected. Boring battles against one character at a time in small, bland areas. Sure, there are items, but they don't do much other than give you an extended hit or explode. So they're worthless. I'm not gonna lie, obviously, I'm not gonna beat every game on this list. We have way too many, but I'm gonna at least get a decent way through. This pile of garbage? I played the first one out of like 6 stories and just stopped. Battles are bland and way too easy. I beat Shrek's final boss with 3 slams while the final boss had 0. This game is so boring. I don't know if the console version was like this or what, but this isn't what I was expecting at all. And it also isn't any good. I just hope the like 4 other Shrek games aren't this bad, because if so, that isn't going to be very fun. Ah, Shrek the Third is next. Wonderful. Like I said, we have Shrek the Third now, and I'm already a little scared because Shrek the Third is the worst Shrek movie. And this is the game adaptation on a weak handheld console. I'm not gonna lie, I actually like this opening cutscene. Sure, that's not Donkey by any stretch, and it makes me tilt my 3DS, but it's done well and it's charming, hey? Hey? Hey, get it? Because Prince Charming. Okay. But, oh no, don't let that opening cutscene deceive you. This is one of the worst looking, worst controlling, and boring games I've ever played. How so? Let's take a look at this footage, it's terrible. Shrek looks like a demon, Artie looks like a wart, and Puss looks like a puffball. But moving away from making fun of the graphics, what about the controls? They're just as bad. You can use the D-pad or the face buttons to do basic movements, and everything else requires a touchscreen. I hate using the touchscreen for basic stuff as it is, but if it's minor things, I can give it a pass. But no, major character moves require the touchscreen. Wanna jump as Puss? Gotta swipe up in the direction of where you want him to jump, and it's unresponsive half the time. Fine, the graphics and controls suck, but what about the core gameplay? This is the worst game yet on this list. Not joking. It seems to be this 3-character switch puzzle game, but I don't see any puzzles, at least not any fun or engaging ones. But hey, there's more to this game than the first level, right? No? That's the whole game? I don't like puzzle games, and this is 10 times worse than normal puzzle games. This is such a lame disgrace to the Shrek brand. Even Super Slam has more to offer, because at least the core gameplay of Super Slam is more interesting. It just isn't executed well. This game is the definition of terrible shovelware, and it is honestly probably the worst game I've ever played. Believe it or not, I don't play too many purposely bad games. Yes, the direct sequel to Shrek the Third. I'm not very excited, but it just may be good. Maybe? Hopefully? This is actually good. This game reminds me of Crash of the Titans, for better and worse. First off, the starting story is rushed and stupid. Shrek just doesn't want to be himself anymore. No build-up like the movie or anything. But aside from that, the opening cutscene is well done and just as charming as Shrek the Third's opening cutscene, which was the only like decent part of that game. Then we're thrown in an action platformer akin to Crash of the Titans for the DS. The core gameplay is much more solid than Shrek the Third, but that isn't why I liked my time with this game. The level design is solid, the graphics are as good as I expected them to be, and the controls, well, they're weird. Shrek has this weird momentum-breaking jump, I almost can't explain it. Whenever you land after jumping, Shrek pushes forward a bit, but stops all momentum at the same time. This makes basic platforming much harder than it should be, and that does get quite frustrating. Like, there were many times that there were a few platforms over water, and due to the bad camera angle and weird jump, I died a few times in an extremely easy area. But yeah, this is an easy game. You platform around long stages, beating up guards and witches in a town, swamp, Rumple's Castle, and other locations from the movie. Also, I quit the game at Rumple's Castle, but we'll get back to that. The town and swamp look and sound the exact same, with the same enemies and puzzles, with the same problems with the camera and platforming. And look, just because I said it was better in Shrek the Third doesn't mean it's a good game, it just isn't horrible. The frame rate also has some issues. This one I don't get. It was clear they were slowed down at many points, and there wasn't a clear reason why. Sometimes Shrek was beating up guards, sometimes there weren't any guards anywhere close. Sometimes Shrek was platforming, sometimes he was just walking. The level design is okay, there's nothing too hard or challenging going on, and the platforming was never fleshed out more than just jumping across a few platforms. So yeah, why this is 10 times better than Shrek the Third? Like I said, Shrek the Third is probably the worst game I've ever played, not joking. So this is nothing more than a decent game, but I'll take a decent game over a terrible one any day. And that's all the Shrek games, right? Wait, another kart racer? Let's just get this out of the way. This is what Superstar Karts should have been, which is crazy considering this came out before Superstar Karts. Now, I'm talking only about the DS version today, because this is one of those licensed games that came out on pretty much every console under the sun. The Game Boy Advance, PlayStation Portable, GameCube, PlayStation 2, pretty much anything that could run a game. And every version seems different than the other. I mean, look at the Game Boy Advance version. But today, I'm going to be looking at the DS version alone. One of the first good signs is how many characters there seem to be, although we only have 4 unlocked at first. Okay, we have the Swamp Cup, the Far Far Away Cup, the Potion Factory Cup, and the Dragon Cup. While, yes, there are the same amount of cups in both games, there are no repeated tracks in the cups. So, thank God! Yeah, there are mirrored versions of the tracks you unlock after beating all the cups, but they're optional and not shoved in the main cups for filler. And yeah, the items are mostly Mario Kart ripoffs, but I mean, what do you expect? We're still dealing with a DS licensed kart racer. This game is far from perfect. I didn't see any frame rate issues, the graphics aren't very good, but I mean, what fully 3D games had good graphics, other than the big names like Mario and Samus? The controls are good, a bit floaty, but the tracks are designed around it, so it's not a huge deal. Overall, this is a very solid racer. I didn't unlock every character, but the karts do seem to control a bit differently. But it still seems to be just a cosmetic decision. Yeah, this didn't take very long, but I mean, it's a solid game. I'd take a 30-minute experience over an hour experience of just terrible. Just a terrible game. I will never get back the hour I spent on Shrek the Third. Not really great, not bad. It's a decent choice for a racer other than Mario Kart DS. The League's better than Superstar Karts. Alright, that's all the Shrek games. And yes, there's a terrible minigame collection and a baby simulator, but you can't actually expect me to look at those. And yet we've barely scratched the surface. On to Madagascar. Okay, this is a Vicarious Visions game, which is a studio that I'm more than familiar with. They made the Over the Hedge games on the DS, Kung Fu Panda on the DS, and Shrek the Third. Alright, sometimes they just had to get a paycheck, it's not always about quality. Nowadays they work on the remasters and remakes for Activision, such as the Crash and Insane trilogy, one of my favorite games of all time, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. But on to this boring 2D platformer. Yeah, they tried here, but overall this isn't a very good game, which sucks considering I wanted to come out of this video with more positives and negatives. Clearly that's going to be impossible. But this game is just boring and repetitive. We start out with this beauty of a title screen and then get thrown into adventure mode. And this is a boring 2D platformer, and it all has to do with the level design. The levels are all designed the same, there's never a feeling of challenge, and it doesn't feel like anything in the level matters. They throw a bunch of coins all over the level, with some of them being locked in areas that you need abilities to get into, but even then it's clear what you need to do and it's easy once you get the ability. There are some stealth levels, but the camera isn't really designed for stealth, so you can't see when some of the guards are walking towards you. Alright, so the level design isn't very good, but how are the controls and graphics? The controls are alright. Alex's double jump has this push at the end that killed me a few times, but it doesn't take very long to get used to, and every character has their own main move to incentivize you to switch between them. The only problem is I just use Alex because of his double jump and the fact that the other characters don't feel very good to play as. Overall, this is a very bland and boring 2D platformer. It's not the worst thing on this list, far from it. It's just very mediocre. I still don't suggest you play this. It's a waste of time. Let's just hope that Escape to Africa is a bit better at least. Or is it hoping at this point? Is there even a point in hoping? Alright, this is a lot better. I actually enjoyed this game a lot more than the first game. First off, it's a 3D platformer with beat-em-up elements. Wait, hold on. This plays almost exactly like Shrek Forever After. Yeah, that's not a joke. Aside from the fact that there are multiple characters, this plays a lot like Shrek 4. Honestly though, the multiple characters aren't a selling point for me. It's still done better here than the first Madagascar, but Melvin and Gloria don't feel good to play, and Alex and Marty are pretty much the same aside from how their jump is handled. So why not just make one character, Alex, and flesh them out with unlockable abilities? I mean, there are abilities, but they aren't as fleshed out as they could be. And I know this is a Dreamworks game on the DS, but when you're playing as Alex or Marty, the game is actually pretty fun. The level design isn't the greatest of all time or anything, but it's still pretty good. The platforming's done well, even if the camera sucks if you're trying to explore, which is incentivize, and the action isn't very offensive. The story is also done well, the voice acting is decent, and the graphics are pretty good for the system. I see a good game here, somewhere. I can recommend this one, but just know that this is far from perfect. But I do think it's the best platformer on this list so far. And with that, we jump into the game I have the most experience with in this video. Madagascar 3, the Vids game. And it's an okay game. Was the hours I poured into it when I was 6 worth it? Meh. So this game is a combination of the platforming exploration from Escape to Africa and a set of bad minigames that is the circus. And if you're going to play this game, play the 3DS version. The only difference is the bigger screen and slightly improved graphics, but hey, it looks better. Alright, so where do I even start? We start with this driving segment with really bad controls, but even then you have to try super hard to get a game over. I don't even know what it would look like. And now we're in our hub world. A boring, bland, empty hub. It's here where we can choose missions and explore locations in Italy. The levels themselves are fine, I guess, but they feel so empty and pointless. Like, yes, there are enemies, but it's almost impossible to die in this game. And it doesn't seem like there are any boss battles, so there's really nothing to test your skills. You select missions, explore for a certain amount of an item, and then get to an end of a level. And these levels are not small, they're too large and oftentimes will be in a level for 2 to 3 minutes after you collect everything you need, which already takes a few minutes. So no challenge, long levels, and boring gameplay, that's it, right? Well, no, because there's also the circus, a collection of boring minigames. While the controls of the actual levels are close to the same as the first Madagascar, the controls somehow get ruined in the circus. Alex suddenly feels janky, Marty doesn't move sometimes, and I don't even know about the others. I didn't find any glitches until I played Alex's tightrope minigame, and sometimes me jumping on the rope wouldn't register. I clearly jumped on it. Overall, this isn't a terrible game. I would say it's better than the first one, but if you want a good 3D platformer on the DS, you should go with Escape to Africa. So how many more do we have? Too many. And we're not even done with Madagascar. Then here we have yet another kart racer. Getting really tired of those. But oh, this time it's Madagascar themed. The menu is the exact same as Superstar Karts. Wait, Shrek and Bob are here? What's going on? I thought this was a Madagascar game. There are 7 tracks and there are 5 reverse tracks. Damn it! This is just Superstar Karts again. That means I'm not gonna like it. Actually, this is more balanced than Superstar Karts, which means that it's even more frustrating. The boost has been a bit nerfed, and the tracks are designed even worse so you can barely drift in the first place. I didn't really like Superstar Karts, but I came out of it seeing more potential. I wouldn't even call it a bad game, it's just a meh game. This is just Superstar Karts, but worse. Or Superstar Karts is just Madagascar Karts, but better. Either way, if you want to play a racer that's not smash and crash racing, choose Superstar Karts. This may have more tracks, but it's quantity over quality. Not that Superstar Karts was the best game already. I really have nothing else to say, it's just a pretty bad game. What a sad way to go out, Madagascar. But would you believe it? We're only a third of the way through these games. We've covered 9 games so far. But hey, that's both of the biggest Dreamworks franchises out of the way, so at least we can move on from that. This is another Vicarious Visions game, so we're clearly not done with them yet. Madagascar 1 was lame, but maybe they'll do Barry B. Benson justice. Please get away from me, Jeanette. And yes, I do love Barry B. Benson. First off, the one track that loops is alright, only problem is it's one track that loops. Fun. The game is okay, it's nothing special, and for me personally, it's quite boring. But I wouldn't say it's a bad game. From an isometric viewpoint, you guide Barry around this nasty yellow hive, and after a long, I mean really long opening, you finally get to start going on missions. And then I shut the game off. With how many games I have to play for this video, this is one of them that I don't find much enjoyment in, and it's literally just the same gameplay style. That's fine, but when I don't like the gameplay, it becomes a waste of time. This is a puzzle game slash boring GTA clone where you collect pollen and do missions for everyone around you. Sometimes you get to leave the hive to go play actual levels, and the story is just a retelling of the movie. The graphics are better in most games so far actually, but only from a distance. Sometimes we get to go up close and personal with Barry, and he looks very interesting. So yeah, lame sound, right where we start. So yeah, lame soundtrack, boring gameplay, decent graphics, okay controls. This is a very okay game. If you like the core gameplay style, I can see you having a good time here. I don't like the gameplay, so we're gonna move on. This actually makes me pretty mad. How to Train Your Dragon is a boring RPG that has a bad map, boring gameplay, and a pointless story. By all respects, this is a pretty bad game. One of the best Dreamworks movies has the worst game on this list so far. And as strange as it is, Kung Fu Panda 2 has the exact same gameplay as this one. And it is a bit better, so How to Train Your Dragon is just such a massive letdown. I've only written a paragraph, and I've summed up all my thoughts on this. This is literally one of, if not the worst game on, actually, you know what? No, it's not worse than Shrek the Third, I don't think anything can be. But I'll try to elaborate a bit more. The combat is stale, the graphics are god-awful. I don't even know if there is sound design, and I was wondering why this wasn't a racer like the console version the entire time. But did you know that there's another Dreamworks DS game that plays the exact same? Meet Kung Fu Panda 2. Now I know up to this point I've covered games individually, but I mean these games play the exact same. Now, as strange as this is, I 100%ed Kung Fu Panda 2. But you thought I didn't like How to Train Your Dragon? Well, I don't. 100% takes like 5 hours, and this wasn't any time recent. Sometime last year when I went through my trade-in phase, I 100%ed this game so I could trade it in. I remember playing it a few times before that, but whenever I finally sat down and 100%ed it, yeah, it's not good either. I would say it's better than How to Train Your Dragon, but it has a lot of the same issues. Boring, repetitive combat, terrible graphics, poor, badly written cutscenes, but at the very least listening to a Jack Black knockoff is better than whoever this is. Plus, the combat was just a bit more entertaining than How to Train Your Dragon. Overall, RPGs aren't really my thing. Give me a good one like Kingdom Hearts and I'll love it. Give me a bad one like these two, and they're practically unplayable. Finally, a gameplay style I can get behind. The frame rate can't, though. For how bad the last few entries have been, I think this game is pretty good. Not perfect, so we'll start with the negatives. Graphics are terrible. This may be the worst looking game on this video, aside from Shrek the Third, obviously. Also, the frame rate is pretty bad. Not terrible, but there are too many times when it dips so bad that it makes that moment of gameplay just straight up not fun. And this is already a 30 frames per second game. I'm not a huge frame rate guy, but the dips are pretty bad. And the story is fine, but nothing more. It gets you playing the game. Once again, nothing more. The controls are okay. They're not super important for this genre of game, but once again, they're okay. And what genre is Megamind BS? A 3D beat-em-up shooter mix. The levels are designed like beat-em-up levels, but you're running around shooting everyone. Sure, I don't like beat-em-up levels, and the levels do feel more empty than I would like, but I'm willing to give it a pass as it's not terrible. The level design is actually good. There are a lot of neat gimmicks, even in just the first level. There are pressure plates you have to activate to open gates on the platforms, crossing a highway with tons of trucks speeding by, a bay with some platforming. This isn't anything special, but looking at it for what it is, this is a decent game. Probably not going to revisit it ever, but I actually enjoyed my time with it. I wonder who developed it. Tantalus Media, that's a name I've never heard of before. They spent their early days doing handheld ports of licensed games. Makes sense. And they made the worst Legend of Spyro game on the DS. Some other time, maybe. However, nowadays they do ports of bigger games such as Mass Effect 3 Special Edition on the Wii U, Twilight Princess HD, Sonic Mania on the Switch, even Skyward Sword HD. Wow, I'm surprised I've never heard of them. Some game trivia for you all. This game wouldn't even run on my hardware, or it's the other way around. My 3DS doesn't want to run this atrocity. This game is terrible. It doesn't have physics, it's ugly, and the game starts like this. Ouch. This is the second worst game on this list. I played on DSMU for like 1 minute. I have a hard time even calling this game a kart race or even a racer. The gameplay feels that bad. You can't even turn without smashing into a wall. This game isn't even so bad it's good. It's actually legitimately unplayable trash. That's literally all I have to say about it. You should never ever play this game. Ah yes, so now we have our actual beat 'em up. This is a very bad game. Wow, I never said that one before. But I mean, this falls in all the traps of a bad shovelware game. Terrible graphics, weird stiff tank controls, poor level design, and a weird mix of puzzles. Now I know the console version has puzzles. I've actually streamed the game before a very long time ago, over 2 years. But this is just weird. Pick up the bags and take them somewhere. I don't even know. But now on to the sequel, Hand Me Goes Nuts. Do you like Over the Head? Do you think the movie is funny? Me too. Do you think this game has the same wacky energy and good comedic writing like the movie? No, it doesn't. This game, besides from a different camera's perspective, it's the same damn game. It's the first one. It's not even really about Hammy. I played so many games. So many terrible games. I wasted hours upon hours of my life so far. How many do we have left? We only have 3 left. Okay, let's kick it into high alert because, well, we're gonna talk about the Kung Fu Panda games. I liked the first 2 Kung Fu Panda movies. Not the third one, though. That movie is lame. So how good is the DS version of the first movie? Even though we already know the second game was bad. Yeah, by now you know this is 2. So this is a side-scroller with unique controls. You use the D-pad to move and jump. Fine, I wasn't planning on using the thumb pad anyways. This isn't a terrible idea, but it just isn't executed very well. And the combat requires a touchscreen. Why? I've managed to dodge it for this long. So yeah, this has some cool ideas. That's all I have to say. Kung Fu Panda 1 on the DS is a boring game. I don't even know if I'd call it bad, it's just super boring. But a sequel to this game on the DS, not the second one, but Kung Fu Panda Legendary Warriors, plays the exact same except in 3D now. Damn it! I just want to escape these games! At least this one doesn't have touch controls. Still, it's just a bland beat 'em up. It's better than Over the Hedge at the very least. Now, finally, the last game. I personally like the Croods, but this is a 3DS game instead of an original DS game, so it looks better, bigger screen, blah blah blah. What is this game? Like, what are you actually doing in the game? This is the most funny mini-game collection I have ever played. There is no way you can lose. I'm going to choose Grug since it rhymes with rug. The AI is so good, they won't die, so if you just copy them, you win every time. There's nothing to do but play minigames. It's not even a story mode, and they're almost all unlocked. And even then, you only have to win 5 minigames to unlock the rest. This is epic. Not good, but very epic. Don't waste your money on this, though. But the only way I could find this game was in a combo pack with the 3DS version of Madagascar 3. So if you really like that game, then I don't see a reason not to pick up some minigames with it. And so that's finally that. Looking at my scripts, we don't seem to have anything left. Wait, why is DS in parentheses after Superstar Karts? Oh no. This game is the worst kart racer in this video. It is just super bad. You would think a hardware upgrade would just make the game look better, like Madagascar 3 and nothing more. But you would be dead wrong. This game is the worst looking game I think I've ever played. This looks like some stock Unity engine. What? They made this game more generic and boring? Remember the mechanic where drifting built a boost meter you can use anytime? It was different enough from Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart to be its own thing, but close enough to them that longtime kart racer fans didn't feel isolated. Nope, now the drifting feels worse, and you have to drift long enough to charge it with a one-time boost. I wonder what other kart racer games use that. Never heard of one. Wait, what's Mario Kart again? Plus, the tracks are close to the same characters. This is nothing more than the same game, but worse. Which Superstar Karts was already a worse version of Smash and Crash Racing. So there's literally no point in playing this. You can play the DS version on the 3DS already, and you can't even play this game on the original DS, so this is a game you should never play. There's legitimately no reason to play this game. I know a lot of these games are mediocre at best and bad at worst, but this, Turbo, and Strike the Third, they're games you should never play. Finally, the end. For real this time. I actually really enjoyed my time doing this. I don't think it's the best uses of time and money for you all, but now I have my thoughts entirely summed up. It's not a super long video for how long it took me making it, but you gotta understand, this month has been a slog. Sorry if I go quiet for a second again. I'm a high schooler now. I have a lot of things to do, so YouTube isn't gonna take a backseat, but it's gonna be harder for me to work on it. Plus, I mean, I have to play a game in its entirety to review it. So, yeah. I wonder what I should take a look at next. Definitely a platformer though, and I'll be going way more in depth on it than I did any of these games. So yeah, thanks for watching.